Are we streaming live today?
Yes.
We're not live right now, are we?
Yes.
I mean, I hate it when you do that and you don't tell us.
I think it's the first time I've been on one that's live. Hi, do we have any viewers?
It's pronounced live.
All right.
Hi, everybody. This is TFYLP, Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, episode number 285, recorded April 21st, 2018. I am your host, Ron Land, a.k.a. Weird Wolf. Along with me this evening is Rick Alvarez.
What a fail.
Yeah.
Toy fail.
Wow.
God damn it, Mattel.
Kristen Russell.
Hello.
Nice,
crisp, sharp video today. Well lit.
Thanks.
Yes, sexy.
Oh.
Yeah. and Rob.
Hi.
Is it Robert or is it Robert?
Yes.
the Pollock answer.
Legit.
Robert. But as you heard them complaining at the top, yes, we are live right now. However, I don't know how long that will last because
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how long that will last because the stream may fail. Last week we broadcast pretty well for about 20 minutes and then it just died. So I don't know. But we are streaming live. And if the stream fails, don't worry. I'm recording a local copy of this, so I will upload that copy to YouTube, and it will be available at our normal time of 8 p.m. Eastern. But right now, I'm broadcasting it mainly as a test, but if it continues the whole show, great, and we'll just leave it up there. But tonight, or today, we're talking about Robots in Disguise, not the one that's on the shelf now, but the ones,
The good one.
yeah, the good ones from 2001, the ones that used to be called robots. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, and we'll talk. I'm sure we've got some stuff for Ouch My Wallet. If you guys have anything that you might want to talk about on Ouch My Wallet this week,
I do. I mean, my wallet pains are a little different than yours. Got a couch.
Transformer related.
Oh no! Well, I have toy stuff, but not Transformers related. So.
You can talk about that giant T-Rex that's next to you there.
Now or is it later?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Well,
Ouch My Wallet. That was a segment.
Hasbro decided to give up Jurassic Park, and I'm glad they did, because finally someone is giving us 3 3/4-inch Jurassic Park figures. They don't have the wonderful articulation that the Hasbro G.I. Joe figures do, but they're getting there. It's a start, and they're going back and doing classic Jurassic Park characters like Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler. Who doesn't need an Ellie Sattler, right? But they're also doing this. Look at this giant T-Rex. Look at this. This is the T-Rex that we needed for Age of Extinction. $50 for this T-Rex. It makes noise sometimes. It eats, right? So here's the Hulk. I put it in its mouth, and then it poops it out the bottom. It poops it out. Like, this is a great toy. I put this in my daughter's room last night, and they woke up and they came into my room. They're like, "Daddy, we got another T-Rex." And I'm like, "That's just on loan. It's my T-Rex." Because they do love T-Rexes. And I think it's like totally articulated. I love this thing. It's great. And it was $50, man. Good job, Mattel. I mean, it doesn't really hurt my wallet, but, I'm very excited about this. This is a great toy. Get this for yourself or for your kids. It's a fun toy.
It does look fun. And it looks well made, too. Is it more plastic or is it rubbery?
It's rubbery. It's a combination of both. But it has... What?
Who made it?
This is Mattel. Mattel now has Jurassic Park. So this is great. And I will say there's another great Mattel for the 2 people that are listening that are into G.I. Joe like me. I worked on the G.I. Joe series Renegades. And I don't know if it was done on purpose or if it's just an amazing coincidence, but the Jurassic World troop transporter looks incredibly identical to the G.I. Joe Renegade's vehicle, the Muskrat. Was it the Muskrat? Yeah. I think that's what it was called. So that's a great 3 3/4-inch vehicle out there for you guys. Put it with your G.I. Joe Renegade figures, or don't.
I don't have any
as you wish. It's America. So
you think you're untouchable?
Shout out to Mattel for doing a good job with Jurassic Park. Finally, it only took 25 years.
Only. So apparently there's some echo, and I do apologize for that. People who are watching live, hi everybody, and thanks for joining us live. I do apologize. I'm trying everything I can. I'm trying something completely different than I did last year. I'm going through my laptop instead of my main broadcast computer for the audio, and it's still echoing. So I don't know. I just don't know.
Have you tried getting good?
Do you try yelling at it?
I don't know. Try hitting it.
Touch it in the back.
Turning it off and turning it
I
on.
have a mixer on the way. I purchased a mixer yesterday, a Behringer mixer, and it should be here tomorrow or Monday. I doubt that it'll be here tomorrow, according to Amazon, because how often does Amazon deliver on Sundays? At least not around here.
It happens
all the time.
Really?
Really?
All the time around here.
Wow.
If you got Prime, because they want to make that today window.
Yeah, they deliver on Sundays.
Well, that'll be cool beans, but it will be a little bit too late for this episode.
At least none of us are hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great on my end. Everything sounds
Everything sounds good on my end.
But whenever I get it, I will be feeding all the audio through the mixer and back into the computer. And then whenever I get the new computer, and I'll give you a slight update on that here in a moment. Whenever I get the new computer, I will use it also to help level out the sound as well. So it shouldn't peak as much, knock on wood. But a couple weeks ago, I gave an update that the CPU, motherboard, and a couple other small things have been purchased for it. As of yesterday, the new monitor, which is a 34-inch ultra wide, so this thing is going to be like a huge monitor. The case and the card reader for my camera was purchased. So it's making some progress. There's some actual physical things to touch with it now. Yay! I'm excited. I'm probably thinking about a month away before it'll be fully paid off and everything. But I'm really excited. Let's continue with the Ouch My Wallet. Rob, do you have anything?
No, not since I talked last week. I mean, I actually have some of the same stuff that Rick has. Couch, actually new TV. You got a dishwasher being delivered soon, but nah.
Yeah, that's a real ouch my wallet because that's the grown up stuff.
Yeah, but no, I don't. No new toys in the last week.
Well, you could pimp your video that you just put up.
I did. I just put up my video on Brewman's videos for these two trucks here that just got done putting them back in the These are.
Is that Lori?
It's X-Transbots, Aegis and PN. Yeah. I don't know what the names look for. I didn't bother to Google it. I don't know if I want to. But yeah, they are awesome. I definitely recommend them. Very cool toys. Maybe Takara will get around to them. Maybe they won't. Who knows what Takara's doing right now in the G1 space.
Yeah, it seems Masterpiece has really gone the movie route. Bumblebee, Prime, Barricade, Ironhide. I mean, those are characters I want in Masterpiece form, but I mean, the last new Masterpiece we got was Sunstreaker. Has Dinobot come out yet?
No, it comes out this summer, or maybe fall.
I just don't want. I'm really afraid that Takara is going to do the thing that they normally do. It's like they get so close to releasing all of like a certain set of characters, and then just stop just shy of having all those characters completed. It's like you'll get all of certain characters, and then you know what, we're not going to do the rest.
I don't think it's Takara. I mean, that's Hasbro. Ever since Brand Unity
pieces.
Yeah, ever since Brand Unity, the G1 MP stuff has shriveled up. No news, no leaks. All we're getting is Anime Prowl.
Takara is the one that controls the MP, the masterpiece. They designed that stuff first, and then Hasbro retroactively pays them a royalty in order to use that. Hasbro has
the
never
movie stuff. With the movie MPs. The designers have said Hasbro dictated the cost and the part count, and they have
I'm not sure the
controlled.
old rules are the same anymore.
That's different. That's a completely different thing. Dictating cost and parts count, that's part of the normal everyday procedure. That's written into the contract every I think 6 to 8 years whenever they re-up the contract between Hasbro and Takara. That's completely normal. Hasbro has always dictated parts count.
But they used to not on the G1 MPs because they weren't guaranteed a stateside release. It was Takara's market.
Yep.
Since Brand Unity, the only thing we've gotten is the Anime Prowl that was supposed to have simultaneous release in both U.S. as a Toys R Us exclusive, I think. So who the fuck knows where that's going now?
Entertainment, yeah.
Okay, so Entertainment Earth.
And Diamond, actually. Diamond's picking it up.
Well, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
So
More options.
So basically,
somebody
orders
Diamond, nobody will get it.
But yeah, so it's ever since Brand Unity, it's been all movie masterpiece. Dinobot was already slated and gone. We just haven't heard anything past that. So I don't know. It's dark days over in the MP speculation thread for G1.
That's why I turned to third party to try and complete my set.
That's why I finally bought these guys. Shows Store has them on sale for like $75 each shipped.
I had the Bad Cube Trailbreaker, and I loved it. I mean, it was a nightmare to transform, in my opinion.
These guys are fun.
But it was really good looking in both modes. I was really happy with it. But I had the strong sensation that they were going to come out with official Trailbreaker and Hoist. So I just sold it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be patient. And I'm going to continue to be patient. As much as I would like to go out and pick up another third party Trailbreaker or Hoist, I'm going to hold off on those. But certain characters, like Headmasters, I really don't see them doing that in an official capacity. So that's why I'm like going to be all over like the Fans Toy Skull Cruncher and Mind Wipe, and I've already got the KFC Snapdragon and Ape Face, which I absolutely adore those guys.
Those came out pretty good.
With those. I don't know.
I didn't think they were perfect, but I thought they were decent.
I'm really happy with them. I like
I'm less happy with the Ape Face.
I like the Snapdragon better. It flows better as far as the transformation. But the Ape Face, it pulls off all three modes really well.
Yeah, that first face though, that first head it came with was just awful. The replacement head that came with Snapdragon was a needed improvement.
So I was doing like you were doing there for a while, Duran, where I would put off because of like, especially the 84 to 86 guys. That's a high chance that Takara's going to hit it. And it was actually Orson. He was like, man, he's like, I would rather buy it now with what's out. That if I like the toy, don't just buy garbage. But and then you get 2-3 years of that character if Takara puts it out. And that's becoming a bigger and bigger if. And then you sell it, and you might not get what you put into it, but you've also been able to enjoy the figure and the character on your shelves for that much longer.
Yeah.
And for me, given that G1 MP is like one of the like top 2 or 3 parts of my collection, that I'm willing to do that after time, And I really thought the trucks were around the corner because that one designer talked about trying to design a mold that would work with both.
Yep.
And I was like, oh man, it's about to come out. And here we are like a year or 2 later, and when
it's at least 2. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well,
so at this point, I'm good with these. I'll hang out with them for a while. If Takara does it, then I'll deal with that.
Knowing that, Robert, you and Duran both are like super masterpiece G1. Out of the 84, 85 lineup, who are you waiting for officially? Who do you absolutely need?
I would like to have Trailbreaker and Hoist. in
official. I mean, an official.
That's what I'm saying. I'd like to have Trailbreaker and Hoist, Hound,
and
Mirage.
All right.
Mirage, I think, is probably. I'd rather
Jazz is my number one.
You know,
Jazz.
if we get a Jazz, I'll be great.
I'll be happy.
But I am
that happy with Make Toys Downbeat.
Downbeat is really good, but I really want the official license.
Yeah.
If we're narrowing to Takara releases, it's got to be Jazz, and I think a close second is Hound. That's how I like the trucks. I don't think they're not as impactful to me as Jazz, fucking Jazz, and then Hound.
Mine is Jazz and Mirage, but Hound is up there too.
But like none of them, like Mirage and the trucks and Cliff Jumper.
Cliff Jumper.
And honestly, I mean, all the mini bots. I mean, I want them all. Like none of them are like even skids. Like none of them are like meh. In my view, my issue with Downbeat is that I didn't get it when it came out because at the time I was like
$200.
Yeah, now I'm not going to. So now I'm just kind of waiting on a Make Toys to reissue it. Hoping they will.
I got Downbeat, and then thanks to Christian, I was able to pick up the stepper version of it. Which I'm glad that I went with the Make Toys version because I hear the other one, which was it the Toy World? Was it Toy World?
Coolsville. Toy World. Coolsville.
It was orange plastic instead of gold. And I'm like, what the hell were you doing?
They were doing the BotCon stepper. Or it came out
that didn't have orange.
Yeah, it was the second version.
The Shatterglass one.
Oh, the
Shatterglass.
The Ricochet. Yeah.
But he was orange, not black and orange. He was orange and whatever color, orange and white.
But yeah, I didn't get Fans Toys Willis when it came out either.
Well,
for the same reason, I was waiting for Takara to get to it, and now that guy. I mean, some people put him on eBay for like $500. I mean, nobody's going to buy it for that. But even then, still $200-300, it'll go for that to someone.
I picked up Gundog Fans Toys recently because of that. I wanted Willis, but
Gundog just doesn't fit for me. I'll wait for Hound to get reissued or Willis to get reissued.
Back whenever Fans Toys actually would, some of the third parties, whenever they first start out, they'll send out samples for people to review, for reviewers, photographers like myself, to actually check them out and get the word out there about their product. Which I think is a phenomenal thing for them to do, but a lot of them they'll do that for a while and then they'll just stop doing it. Well, Fans Toys Willis was actually one of those toys that I actually was able to get a hold of and photograph, and this was probably 2 years ago. I want to say roughly. If you look at my Flickr page, I believe I've still got photos of it up there. It's a great figure. Don't get me wrong. I liked it, but as far as masterpiece scale, and I know scale is relative in Transformers, but in vehicle mode, he just seemed way bigger than he needed to be. I mean, he was.
No one cares about vehicle mode scale.
It's like the Jeep was like almost as big as MP10's cab. I'm like.
It's all about the robot mode.
Here, let me. I was just thinking. You guys said you'd rather have the official release.
I would.
Right? But listen, we had the official Rumble, Frenzy, Laserbeak, Ravage, but then we have these third-party guys that come out and their figures blow them away.
That's a matter.
I don't like them.
No, don't get me wrong. Actually, my next video is going to be on these two guys because I think these guys are awesome, but I think they're completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, these belong on a Masterpiece shelf, but the Masterpiece ones that Takara put out, I mean, they fit in Soundwave's chest.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
And they're limited. They're limited by that. See, they're pigeonholed by that.
But I think it's fun. I don't think it's a pigeonhole. I think they serve two different purposes, and I think both of them knock it out of the park for what they're trying to do. To me, they live together harmoniously and have play dates and sleepovers and stuff.
To see what Takara did with the engineering to make all those cassettes have one alt mode and be so different, I think it's incredible. Not a pigeonhole.
Yeah.
Ingenuity is one thing, but what is Masterpiece, right? It's supposed to be as honest an expression of the original, now leaning towards animation, right? So when you have those cassettes, you compare them to the other Masterpiece figures, you compare them to the animation, to what they look like, and they just don't compare to what the third-party guys are doing, especially that Ravage. I'm sorry, I don't know the third-party names. But then you also have those Rumble and Frenzies that have the pile drivers that actually are battery operated. Like, how crazy is that? That's just awesome. And look at that thing go. It's not slow. I mean, you have a nail, you got to do some drywalling or something and just use that.
No, again, that's cool, but my cassettes really need to be sound wave sized.
That's to me.
I think it's both.
That's the way I feel. I'm with Christian and Rob on this. I do like the Ocular Max tapes, but they're a bit big for tape mode. And I'm perfectly happy with the official ones. The official ones are great.
They're a lot of fun too.
They are more official ones. I still want Cobalt Sentries and the other Slugfest and Overkill guys.
Slugfest and Overkill. That would be
Beastbox Squawk Talk, Cobalt Sentries.
I don't think we'll ever get those officially.
Messing with an unofficial oversized Squawk Talk right here, but yeah, I'm really happy with them. It's the same thing with the Make Toys. What's it? The Make Toys Meteor, which is their Starscream.
Oh yeah.
From what I understand, it is like leaps and bounds better than the official one. But at this point, I'm so happy with the official ones, and I know they're not perfect. But I don't feel like going back and spending $700 to $1,000, to replace all my damn Seekers again.
Yeah, here's the thing. To play off that point, I'd rather have a character we haven't gotten than just, how many Optimus Primes, how many Starscreams do we need at MP scale? I'm ready for those other characters, and everyone's still going to those top tier A and B characters.
I felt that the Masterpiece game had changed enough that a new Masterpiece Starscream I was ready for, and I absolutely love Meteor. And I think that there's a couple of like little things about it. I think people way overblow them online. I don't think they're near that bad. So I was happy to replace it. Now, am I going to replace the other 5 Seekers? I don't know about that. Just especially because those. What is it? The Coneheads were all were all exclusives, and they cost like $250, and the aftermarket on them plummeted hard because of how much wear and tear that mold has seen. People, I guess, are sick of it. I don't know that I don't know if I can do it for the other 5. And they just announced Thundercracker and Skywarp in that mold, and both of them from Make Toys have color issues. Skywarp's hands are wrong, and then like in plain mode for Thundercracker, there's like a little gray piece, and it's just it's enough little things. It's like now I don't know if I want to bother replacing the ones I have on my shelf. If you're going to do it right.
Until we see like the final products.
I believe these are supposed to be. I mean, you're right. I will wait to see for sure what the stores have, but it's looking like that's what it's going to be.
So, this conversation about do I want to spend $800,000 to replace all my Seekers? That does remind me of something. My wife has an Ouch My Wallet, which doesn't involve Pottery Barn. So it was my birthday last week. Thank you. Please hold your applause.
Congratulations, you're closer to dying.
Yeah, every day I get closer to death. So she surprised me and she got me the Jabba sail barge through the Hasbro Kickstarter.
Is that a hint?
And so now I'm thinking, all right, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before
Unicron.
Is it going to be Unicron? I mean, if you're going to pay $500 for a Transformer, I think Transformers will probably be next, and then maybe G.I. Joe. But if you're going to pay $500 for a Transformer,
Unicron.
Who's it going to be?
Unicron.
It's Unicron or Primus, but I think it's got to be Unicron. I mean, I love the Armada mold, but I mean, if they wanted to do like a animation G1, basically MP style, obviously not to scale, but that animation maybe accurate
2 feet
version.
Tall, a 2 foot tall masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean which isn't uncommon these days. We have 3 fucking Omega Supremes by third parties that are about the size of a toddler. So
I'm a whole different point of view on this. All right, Duran, you're also with Unicron.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you thinking it's going to be a playset? The ARC playset?
Well,
I'd rather it be a gift set, really, several figures,
okay.
rather than one giant one.
Who do you want?
I don't know. I want Seacons if that's the way it has to come out, but I don't think the $500 price point has to stay in order to make HasLab work.
No,
so I'm more of like
but
a $200 thing rather than a $500 thing.
You know, just going
But if
off.
it is
They've only
500,
done one thing.
I guess Unicron.
Or Devastator.
Masterpiece Devastator.
Here's
Yeah.
how I look at it. You know, we've got Unicron toys already. I want something I haven't had before. I want an ARC. I want a goddamn ARC.
An ARC would be okay, but I mean, literally, it wouldn't transform.
No, but
I'm okay with that.
They could load that bitch up with
playset that would work with your deluxe figures, your deluxe G1s and your deluxe Generations figures, or your deluxe RID figures.
And they could throw in a deluxe or two with the set. But yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Sure.
Did they throw in any figures with the cell barge? They didn't, did they?
Yak face.
Yeah.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they included a new Yak face on the retro card. And it came with a nice book.
Yeah.
Which,
I think there's a lot of cool things they could do with it. And
yeah, okay.
I don't know
the
if
ARC than Unicron.
I don't know if I would buy the ARC, to be honest.
When is
not
this?
for
Wouldn't buy an
deluxe
ARC?
scale. I don't know if I would buy it for deluxe scale. Maybe if it looked okay for G1, I might.
I mean, that's a piece you can use as a playset or something you can hang from your ceiling, you know, or build a cool diorama where it's sitting upwards. Like, imagine if you got that box.
I don't have a 2,200 square foot basement.
But listen,
as I showed last week,
box,
this
right?
is where my bat cave is right now, literally sitting in the corner in the floor. You
Yeah.
know, so
You know, it's a cave. It's it's got to be below everything. So imagine you got that box, right? And that box like folds open, and there's the ARC ready to launch into space.
Yep, I think that's a job for Matthew Reinhardt.
I have the last one he did. It's actually in there. I need to glue it back together.
I have
that very cup, Rick.
That very
same cup.
At Walmart,
Yeah.
$2.
Yeah.
Oh, mine's over here for my move.
But
One quick note before we move on. I wanted to touch back to what we were talking about. You know, the Ocular Max tapes versus the actual Masterpiece tapes.
Mhm.
My plan is to actually, with the Matrix, that's the cheap one, not the expensive one. I think a setup with that with MPO1, and I still have MPO5. Although I'm probably going to get rid of MPO5 for the Wei Zhang New Evolution 01. I believe he's in the same scale. I got to measure and see if it is, and use those two in that scale with these guys. 'Cause I think these guys, the Ocular Max, scale really
That
well
makes
with
sense.
MPO1 and MPO5 scale. And I think that with the Matrix in the middle will be a nice display once I buy real shelves. Which is
Matrix
coming
displays
soon.
well with everything. You can't go wrong with that.
That's true.
No matter what generation you're displaying, you can't go wrong with that.
when is the job sail barge supposed to ship?
Next summer, ain't it?
I believe May of 19.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
So I will already have had another birthday by the time I get it.
Late.
That's
Late.
a long time from now.
Or you
It comes
could be
with a
dead.
book and hopefully, and the book's already shipped out. And I think the book's like the making of Sail Barge. I don't collect.
Does
too
that
much Star
come with
Wars.
the price?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it comes with the book and the yak face and ship. It was $500. I believe shipping was extra. Yeah.
Of course it was.
How much is the shipping on something like that?
I don't know. I mean, she
Probably 30
it was
bucks. 40 bucks?
it's 4 feet long, man. I don't know. But if they're
When
doing
I was
bulk
shipping Fort Maxes across the country last Christmas, it was like $60 to do that. So,
Christ.
yeah.
Where are you? Are
North
you
Carolina.
in North Carolina? So, definitely coast to coast would be expensive.
Yeah, to go to Colorado for one and California for the other, they were $60 and $70.
It's just
Not worth it
insane.
at that point.
No, it was not.
That is insane.
Especially when weren't those caught on sale somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how about
That's how I
Ollie's?
got them. That's why I like them.
How about Ollie's showing up with Trypticons at $13?
It's
I've
just
only
like
seen
Fort
that
Max
one
last year.
picture. I don't think
I think it's
that was rampant.
supposed to be 50. I saw another picture where they're 50.
Still, $50. That's a great price.
It's a great price. It's just not 13. That was unreasonable.
So that's it for today. So thank you very much.
I was actually replying to somebody here on the
line. Our apologies to Lindsey Buckingham. We didn't get to you today. And
I get that reference.
Well, actually, that was one thing I was going to say. Let's finish up the Ouch My Wallet. And Christian, you do kind of have something that you can talk about. Same thing I do. That we were talking about pre-show.
Oh, that was Ouch My Wallet from like 7 months ago.
Yeah, but you just opened it up.
Okay, yes, I got Great Shot and Grand Max this week. So not so much Ouch My Wallet as Ouch My Mailbox. That was tough.
I mean, this thing is beautiful. But
did Grand Max end up getting the bonuses that they wanted to hit? Okay, I couldn't remember if it happened.
I thought I saw somewhere that Takara had indeed gone ahead with the Pretender, but it was going to be offered some other way.
No, that was someone misinterpreting a Google Translate. I wanted it to, but it looks like we're going to have to do customs whenever Wave Rider comes out.
Hopefully it'll be a BotCon exclusive this year.
Do you know if those...
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Womp womp. Do we know if those ugly-ass custom Fort Max heads that had the Japanese comedians on them...
Oh, yeah. I have one of those on the way.
You do?
I want it because of how ugly it is, in a way, just that perverse nature, but I don't think the money worked out.
Yeah, whenever
I actually think I was going to buy
that's a
your
real
slot.
Expensive piece now.
I think I was actually going to get the one you got, Duran. Like, if you didn't take it, I was just going to be like, fine. And then you took it, and I was like, thank God, I don't have to buy it.
Duran, when you get tired of that, please let me know first.
I mean, at first I was like, this thing is hideous. I want it. It's a headmaster. It's weird.
You know why I didn't pre-order that? Because I just felt like, boy, that's just like, I know it's a completely different culture, but like that kind of like affected me in a way. Like, I mean, I'm not Asian. My wife's Asian.
Were you aroused?
Asian, but I wasn't like I looked at it and I'm like, man, I don't understand this. Like, it was easier for me to get into Kiss players than it was something that was designed in such a way, which, in the 1950s or 1960s, it could be interpreted as a very negative representation of Asian people. And I now I think back on it, I'm like, maybe I was wrong about it, and maybe I just took it the wrong way, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of want one.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That was one of those things where I was like, whenever it first came out, I'm like, what the hell? What is this thing? It's hideous. And then I'm like, it's so weird. And it is it's a headmaster. I'm like, I want it. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to get a hold of one of these things? Because you really have to jump through hoops to do it.
Yeah.
And then some friends of ours, they were going in on a group buy, and literally I'm like, hey, how can I get in on this? And they're like, hey, you're in luck. We got one spot left. So.
And then I think one of the friends is actually in Japan and can do it all, and/or has a friend over there that's going to buy the DVD set and then
do
all the lifting for us.
I will say, if my father-in-law comes over, I will hide that piece.
You will hide it.
Yeah.
Because
he's Asian.
Is that offensive?
I didn't think it was offensive, but I'm not Asian. It didn't even click.
Well, since it's coming out of Japan,
it's a different culture over there. Yeah. It's a different culture. Let's not waste a show on our personal opinions on it.
I do see what you're saying, Rick. In our culture, it looks offensive. Because it's kind of like our equivalent of like blackface here in the United States. We would find that offensive, but in Japan maybe not so much. I don't know.
I think we're four white guys who can't really comment on other races being offended by stuff.
Well, first of all, my last
two of us are ginger though.
I only look white in order to.
So you were just racially profiling Rick.
I did. I'm sorry. I assumed your race.
I only look white so that I can infiltrate. That's why I changed my name to Rick. My given name is Jose. But the problem is that every time I go to the airport, people say Jose Albert. Listen, this is why every time I go to the airport, and I'm not kidding, I'm 100% truthful right now, I always get to the airport early because when I go through security, Jose Alvarez, please step this way. Do you know how many Jose Alvarez's are on the do not fly list?
Wow.
And I'm not even kidding.
Like all of them?
I'm not even kidding. I've been stopped 5 times. And
make sure you're
one
not
time,
that Jose.
Well, yeah, one time I went for a speeding ticket to court, and this was in New Jersey. And they're like, Jose Alvarez, child support, loitering, whatever. Which one are you? I'm like, speeding ticket, man. That's it. Speeding ticket.
Wow.
I mean, I was doing 105 in like, a 65 zone. But
you're lucky you still have your driver's license.
You're lucky you didn't kill somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying.
Robots in disguise.
Well,
I do actually have stuff I want to talk about robots in disguise.
Well,
I was wanting to finish about Great Shot though, because I was able to pick mine up too, and he is really beautiful. I mean, the colors on him are great. I love the chest remold. I don't know if you can see all the detail on the video there, but the chest and the head remold, great. The shoulders.
I thought the chest was going to be paint or decals, but no, it's molded in there. It's crazy.
Hopefully molded in there. Yeah.
Not for me, but it's cool.
I got mine on order.
I was expecting just pretty much a straight up 6-shot redeco, but it's a little bit more than that, and I'm quite happy with it. The actual headmaster itself, I'm sorry, Titan Master. If I can get it out of here, the way that's in there wedged. But the detail on the faceplate is like great too.
It's really blurry.
Yeah.
Now, is that a whole new figure, or is it just a faceplate?
It is the revolver from 6-shot with a whole new faceplate. And yeah, this is Jack from the Victory series. The way they Headmasters. So yeah, it's a really nice figure. I'm really happy to get it. I wanted to get the Brave Max, or I'm sorry, the Grand Maximus. But I just don't have the room for it. And the one complaint that I do have outside of a paint smudge on the wheel here, which is easily removable with nail polish remover, is the same thing that the 6-shot had. And with the Titan Master, the way it fits down in the head port, and then you got basically the cap that comes down over the head. Great Shot has some great molded in and painted detail on the forehead, which you would love to see displayed on whenever he's on the actual body. But you have to kind of leave the cap up just a little bit so you can actually see some of it. Just like on 6-shot. 6-shot had that wonderfully molded in, I guess like writing on his forehead. For Titan Returns, and then whenever you put him on the body, the head just like literally covered all that great molded in detail up, and it was kind of disappointing. So you gotta kind of like leave the cap a little bit up so you can.
Then you get that break,
Yeah, you get that break, but
maybe he's like Ray Liotta from Hannibal.
It's one of those things where it's a trade-off. It's like, do you want to see the nice molded in detail that you're intended to see, or do you want to cover it up and see a little bit of a break in the covering? I don't know. I prefer to see the nice molded in detail.
Well, for our listeners, Deron mentioned his paint smudge on the wheel. I've got a big paint scratch on my windshield. Let us know if you got Great Shot and have kind of weird errors like that. See if it's a batch-wide thing rather than just 2 examples. I want to know.
My Great Shot came in 6-shot colors. I think that might actually just be a 6-shot figure.
I'm like, do you think it might be a 6-shot? Night Sword, I have not actually transformed it in all 6 modes yet. It came packaged in jet mode. and then I transformed it to robot, and I have not yet had a chance to convert it to all 6 modes. I do like the wolf mode, or the wolf head has been remolded into a rhino. Yeah, that's really nice.
I am curious to see the upside down submarine mode on him.
What you mean the gun mode?
It's not a gun.
He's got a gun mode?
Yeah.
It's a blaster.
It's a submarine.
And officially, it's an upside down submarine.
Yeah, it's a gun.
So
now that we've talked for 45 minutes about something totally not related to the main topic of the show, which hey, that's the way podcasts go.
High five, go team!
Yes.
Woo. We're productive.
But hey,
that's what makes podcasts interesting. We talk about interesting shit. So
15 minutes of Robots in Disguise, go.
well, sometimes we just talk about
it out a little bit longer.
That's what she said.
So
in 2001, Hasbro, if you watched the episode, the last episode we had with Aaron Archer,
my hero.
Yes. If you watch that episode, he gave us a little bit of insight on the changeover between, say, Beast Machines and RID, and also Beast Machines and Armada. They were going to go with the Trans Tech line and opted to just totally kill that and bring over a line that Takara had made as a filler line over there, essentially. Called Car Robots or Transformers 2000, depending on where you're at. They brought it over here to the United States and repackaged it as Transformers Robots in Disguise. Imported the anime over here. The anime was a bit goofy, but it was still. It was a far cry from what we were used to, even in G1, and we'd just come off the dark humor series, or not dark humor, but the dark series with Transformers Beast Machines, and then we get this very lighthearted, very humor-based cartoon that is Robots in Disguise.
Well, I think we needed that drastic change. Remember, Beast Machines and Beast Wars were CGI shows. They had very serious undertones. Characters could die, and there were consequences in the storyline. But then go to RID, where you have the comedy in it. You also have a very drastic change in the aesthetic of the toy line. You go to full-on vehicle modes, recognizable Earth-based vehicle modes, and I think you needed that change in animation in order to make that work. We still had plenty
of beasts. It should be noted.
We still had beasts, yeah. Car Robots had a lot of the figures, which see, at the time, Beast Machines had not come out in Japan. So Takara had taken several Beast Machines and several well, actually, it was Beast Wars Transmetal 2 figures, and brought them over into the RID line. And just like in Beast Wars 2, all the animals were good guys, regardless if they were insects, dinosaurs, mammals, chickens, and all the vehicle-based guys were bad guys. So you kind of had that in Car Robots and Transformers Robots in Disguise, where if you were a vehicle, you're a good guy, and then all the animals are, even the Maximals that were brought over to the line, were repainted. They were bad guys until the Decepticons show up. And it was cool because they had the Autobots versus the Predacons, which were animals, which younger fans would easily recognize. And then when the vehicle-based bad guys showed up, those were Decepticons.
I like that.
So
It was a
there was
choice.
There were two different evil factions, essentially.
Well, the Decepticons were like a subgroup of the Predacons, which I thought was cool.
They were like the special forces.
Yep.
A flip-flop of Generation 1, where the Predacons were a
kind of
Decepticons.
And, you say what you will about the animation, you can look back on it now and say it was very kid-oriented. or some of the stories.
It was.
Just
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not saying it was bad. I enjoyed the show.
But there were some very unique aspects of that toy line. You had some very unique characters, which even once they're repainted and put into Universe or other toy lines or Generations or movie, they still have that Robots in Disguise essence to them. We finally got like real combiners again. We had the Train Bots, we had the Constructabots, we had G1 Bruticus slightly retooled and re-released.
Which was a joy for me because I've been craving G1 toys again, and to actually go into a retail store and see a G1 mold back on the shelf again. I didn't care what color it was in. I wanted it. I wanted it.
I mean, I wouldn't discount that to say that, we finally got combiners again, because we still got combiners in Beasts in the U.S. I know they weren't featured in the show in any way or anything, but we definitely got some interesting combiners toys out there.
I mean, we had Triperticus, we had Magnaboss, but those were kind of early on still, before Transmetals, and I think once the Transmetals started hitting, you look at the sales and how they kind of increased exponentially from there. Those figures kind of got left behind, and they were never repainted again, at least not in the United States. They were offered by Takara. But RID had some very unique things, and one of my favorite aspects of RID was their interpretation of Scourge, which eventually would end up becoming something like of a mainline aspect to the Transformers brand, eventually being known as Nemesis Prime. Scourge, he was a Decepticon who had scanned Optimus Prime, but instead of being a repaint of Optimus Prime, he had his own unique cab and trailer mode, which was, to me, was very awesome because it actually gave more characterization to that villain. And that was a great G2 toy, the Laser Optimus Prime, which was re-echoed.
That was actually my very first exposure to the G2 Laser Prime mold. I mean, I'd seen it in stores, but at the time that G2 Laser Prime was actually on shelves, I had moved away from collecting at that point in time. It was around the time I was in college. We're getting ready to go into college, and I just wasn't a toy collector at that time. And then by the time RID came around and Scourge came out, I remember seeing the toy before, but I had never actually got to handle it until I picked it up, and I'm like, wow, this thing is amazing. And then to realize at that point it was pushing like a 10-year-old mold as it was, I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, this is great.
And everybody wanted that toy to come out, and I think eventually it ended up being a Toys R Us exclusive.
Yep, I remember trying to get one so bad, and I kept going to my local Walmart. I mean, I was 8 years old, so I was at the whim of my parents. But I would say, let's go get Scourge. I really want Scourge, and I never knew he was a Toys R Us exclusive because I was a child.
You found the little legend, and you're like, this is all I'm getting.
I didn't get that either, actually, until a long time later. So I never had Scourge until, I don't know, 2008 or so. Long time.
And then once you did finally get it, you were like, yes.
Yeah, I was.
RID had a lot of figures which we had never really seen before in the Transformers lore. The train bots, to me, are a great example. You have 3 trains, bullet trains, which trains are still very popular in the Asian countries. And
freaking love that combiner though. Too.
And they combine together. And it was a great toy combined. They were great figures. I really wish there was a universe version of them as Decepticons, which never came out, which had graffiti all over them, but it was just too expensive to produce. So the artwork got made for it, but no samples have ever shown up.
Really? This is the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, Dan Kana actually did the artwork, and he colored the artwork, but to this day, no one's ever seen physical samples of it. So it may just be something that they did digitally and it never got produced, or it could be sitting in someone's basement. You don't know.
It might be sitting in Glenn Hallett's basement.
No, he who shall not be named. No, because that was 2004. That was after he had already been removed and Brian Savage had already been put in place.
2004? Because I thought
in 2005. 2005. It was supposed to be 2004. I found out about it in 2005.
Yeah, so my experience with the show is a bit different than y'all. So I wasn't into Transformers at the time. I hadn't been into Transformers, since I was a kid. At that point, I was in college, and I remember the first time I saw a red toy, not knowing what it was. Then I had a buddy, and he had a Transformer. Like I was at his house, it was a college buddy working on a project, and I was like, "What's this?" He's like, "I don't know, it's like some Japanese toy my sister got me." He knew it was a Transformer. We didn't know what it was. It was Prowl from Robots in Disguise. I was like, "Oh, whatever." And then probably like a year or two after that, like right at the end of college for me, I'd been collecting Ninja Turtles, which are way cheaper hobby, so much cheaper of a hobby.
You don't say.
Yeah, I've been staying the hell away from Transformers, and I finally was like, man, Megatron seems like a cool toy. How do they get a gun to be a robot? And the club reissue, the Transformers Club, not club, but you know what they called it over the car was doing. That was doing the G1 reissues, and I bought that, and I started getting into them. So I watched the cartoon a few years after that. At some point, I don't know, downloaded a bunch of dubs or something, and so I made a haiku for it. I think Rid sucked ass. I made myself suffer it. I wish I was dead. I did not enjoy the cartoon.
Thanks.
Yeah,
you did not
enjoy the cartoon.
No. That being said, I still managed to make it all the way through it. I can't say the same for the current Red cartoon, which I made an episode and a half, and I was like,
I got about
I was like, this is not for me. It's completely not for me. Why am I wasting my time?
I think I made it to the end of the new one, but there's two versions of me. There's two versions of me that saw the original Robots in Disguise cartoon. There's the 8-year-old me that saw it when it came out, and that one hated it. I mean, I've been watching Beast Wars, I've been watching Beast Machines a little bit, and then
you hated it, but you still really wanted that Scourge toy.
I did, because I saw it on a website or something. I don't know. It was Black Prime. It was really cool. But yeah, I hated the cartoon, and then I watched it later, like 2006-ish, when I was in high school, and I liked it a lot. I understood it for what it was. It's very kiddie, but in that, it's a lot of fun if you don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, like I didn't care for it, but I still was able to make it through it. You know what I mean? I haven't made it through Victory. I literally fall asleep.
I've been trying to get through Master Force that same way.
Oh, I loved Master Force. I really dug it. That's the one of the trilogy. I think Master Force is the best liked. Generally, Headmasters is so goofy, especially if you listen to the dub.
You know what? That's what I'm watching. I'm watching Headmasters. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. You have to watch the dub of Headmasters just because it's so bad. That's what makes it entertaining. Otherwise the plots are just.
Were they called Blaster Billy?
Yeah.
We
got to get the power pack, Billy.
Cybertron.
But
there's also two versions of me that liked the toy line or didn't like the toy line. I got Optimus, the fire convoy combining one, when it came out, and I could not make it work. I couldn't transform it. It was way too difficult for me. But I love Landfill because I got all of those guys, and I got one of the train bots. And then several years later, I went back to it, and Optimus is great. I just wasn't old enough to be able to handle it the right way when I was a kid. But another weird thing about RID for me, and it's like the best story I have about RID and me. It's not the best. That was a bad introduction.
It sounds like a children's book, RID and Me.
RID and Me.
The best.
I don't know if you guys remember when RID started airing, but it was like the week before 9/11. And the way my child brain was, that's very tied together for me. And we don't need to get into like how we all experienced 9/11 because that's how it happened. But for me, Robots in Disguise is very tied up in that.
Really?
Just
Really?
because
That could
it
be
was the
hard
same time.
It'd be hard to look on that favorably.
That's
an interesting way to look at it because the other three of us, you're in a younger demographic than us, and you look at it, and that's one of the things, one of the reasons why I'm glad to have you on this show is that you give us a perspective that a lot of us we don't see because we're older. I was an adult when 9/11 happened. I was an adult when when RID hit the shelves. So I look at it from a totally different perspective than say you would. How did you as a child when you were watching the cartoon? What were things going through your mind? What made you dislike it as a child?
I don't remember specifically. I remember not relating to Koji at all. I've been watching a lot of Digimon. That was my thing when I was a kid, and I related to each and every one of the characters there. But
Koji was the human character.
Yeah, Koji's the human character.
He was the human child character.
And I did not like him at all. He was not related to me. That Optimus wasn't the Optimus I knew because by that point I'd already seen a bunch of G1. It just wasn't. It wasn't Transformers to me.
How are you exposed to G1?
Blockbuster. I would go up. My
Blockbuster is a business that used to rent what we call videos.
We would run to Blockbuster and rent. I forget who made them. Probably FHE. It was before Rhino. Whoever made the videotapes of them. And we would go rent them, and I would rent the same ones over and over and over and over again.
That's awesome.
Particularly Transformers the movie. I probably saw that billions of times. I wish I could have gotten the copy before it got destroyed and they moved on to DVDs, because that particular copy from that specific store really made me be a Transformers fan.
That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
I love that story because, like, again, you're the youngin when we like to talk about that, but the fact that you mentioned that your Transformer history involves Blockbuster kind of like adds 5 years, so just
makes my beard feel a little bit more gray.
Yeah, I'm not the youngest. He's much younger than I am, but I did Blockbuster. I actually discovered GoBots first because they had the Gobatron saga, the first couple episodes.
They were out first.
They were out first. I got them first, and then picked up Transformers later.
And did you ever see the GoBots Rock Lords movie as a child?
Of course, I have it on VHS. I bought it on eBay. I bought it on eBay to watch it. It's not that great.
So, so I didn't like the cartoon, but everything else, about it that Rick was mentioning earlier, like, I would agree with.
The engineering.
Like a couple of my favorite toys, and this one, granted, this is an older one, but still, I really like the Scourge toy, and I have the rest of it.
That mold still holds up after all.
It's a fun toy. It has the articulation you need. It's posable, and and it looks good. It's that nice balance of fun to transform and can do everything you want it to do.
But
and the color's cool, and I love again that it wasn't just it's a Black Prime. Scourge was a character, and it feels like for the most part we just go to Nemesis Prime is a Black Evil Prime. It's kind of lazy. I don't really think we get Scourge himself really anymore, but I do like that they did that, and I like what it added to the mythos. I think I like even the shows I don't like. I like what they add to the mythos. So we had Beast came out, and again I wasn't into Transformers at the time, but there was the whole truck versus monkey, truck not monkey debate, whatever. But the first show after Beast Machines ended had Beast in it. It added to that legacy permanently. And then I think the idea of Scourge, and Skybite has really added to the legacy. And Skybite's goofy but it's fun. He's definitely fun. And every cartoon that comes out, I think adds more, whether you like it or not. It keeps adding more to that mythos that gives us the bigger picture. Like, remember when Drift was announced, and everybody's like, "Oh God, here comes the Mary Sue character," and I think it took a little bit, but now I really enjoy Drift and what he's added to it. And so each iteration, I think, looking back, will end up doing more good than harm, because what sucked about it usually stays behind. What they did right and what they did good, it helps carry forward.
I agree.
And, other toys that came out that liked is I don't have the one from that because I kept the BotCon one and I cut down on molds, but I really like this mold because it turns into a hand.
Yes.
How many other Transformers turn into a hand? It's just That's cool. That's a cool thing, and
the dragon mode on that toy absolutely blows me away. I love the dragon mode on it.
And here's what I was trying to say
2016 one.
About RID. The engineering on those figures is so unique, even when they're repainted and released in other toy lines. There is something so unique about the 3-Car Robot Brothers and how they transform and how they look and how they are not a symmetrical robot.
I love that.
There's something so unique about that Megatron toy and all his various modes, and then his fan modes, his elephant mode, you know, that they put when they released Galvatron. They took all the fan modes and they made them official.
Mm-hmm.
There's something very unique about that Optimus Prime, even though he's a parts former, but it has an iconic feel to it. It's the articulation, it's the size, it's that face too. He's the only Optimus with that face, and it gets you in the feels when you sit down and you start playing with those RID toys after you haven't played with them for a while.
You know, you're talking about the Fire Convoy and the Super Fire Convoy version. A couple of years ago, Orson, whenever he's at TFCon Canada, he picked up the Sam's Club version of the Fire Convoy and the God Magnus for me.
And piss colors?
Yeah, the piss colors. A lot of people hate them, but I thought it looked pretty awesome. You know, especially the all yellow Prime. That just, I loved it.
Is that the same one I have now?
Yes.
You
actually bought it.
Surprise! I have that.
Yeah. But that was actually the first exposure I had to those molds since I sold them back in 2006. I had never actually, I had them loose and sealed back in the day, and then my first huge collection purge, everything RID went, and since then I'd picked up several other RID figures, most notably Rail Racer, which he's one of my favorite combiners of all times, even up there with some of the G1s. I love my Abominus, I love my Computron, I love my Rail Racer. Rail Racer, he's one of my top tiers in Transformers history. And I had one of those, but I didn't go back and pick up the Prime and Magnus because as an adult, and this goes back to what I was talking before, I got into RID as an adult, and I played with the toys. I thought they were good, but I didn't like the parts formeriness of it. I didn't like the fact that, okay, here's a really cool fire truck that's enormous. I mean, you just don't get toys this size anymore. Had all these firing missiles and everything. Great toy. But to make the super robot, you virtually have to disassemble the whole damn thing. The front of the thing turns into...
But isn't that just a Mega Supreme?
I didn't like Omega Supreme back in the day either. I look back on him now. I appreciate him more now through retrospect. But I didn't like Omega Supreme back in the day simply because you had to take them apart. I didn't like the Seekers back in the day, because of all the wings and the fists and crap.
I'm with you. I think that, and I still have my Prime and my Ultra Magnus from Red. I think they are great display pieces, but I don't play with those toys. And other than like when I first got them, and combine them to make the big one, like I doubt I'll probably never combine them again, and I don't really even know that I'll bother to transform them again. I don't find them fun.
Well, it's not that I didn't.
Most of the rest of the line I like, and I think they look great. But I have no interest in transforming them.
It's not that I don't find them fun. It's just that I didn't like the fact that I had to disassemble them. But whenever I had the opportunity to pick up the Sam's Club versions, which Christian says he's got those now. The thing is. I got them and I transformed them. And I'm like, these are great toys. I don't care anymore that I have to disassemble them. And I'm sorry, but Omega Prime, the combined mode, there's so many ways that you can kind of customize that thing to make it look a little bit different. You know, like fold the chassis.
What a pain in the ass to get them to stand up.
It is a pain in the ass. The hip ratchets are a little bit weak. The knees.
I wish his hands were better so he could hold that giant sword.
But he is impressive. Excuse the language. He's impressive as fuck. I love his toy. I love that toy.
What the fuck did you say?
Shut the fuck up. But he is impressive, and I reattached to that figure. And I'll really dig him in the yellow and the blacks and everything. And then through Orson, I was able to handle the all translucent versions of those molds.
Ooh, I want those.
It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Oh man,
can't afford one. But it's beautiful.
I want that one, and I want the Lucky Draw one, the black one.
The all translucent version of Omega Prime.
You know, we're talking about, since we're talking about Rid toys, you know, who can forget this gem?
Oh, what could have been?
Wow. Yeah.
So for people who don't know what that is the titanium 6-inch figure, but it's decorated in blue and called Defensor.
Gee, why is that, Rick?
I think it's called Hot Zone.
Was it Hot Zone?
I think it's just Hot Zone. Yeah, they didn't get the name for it.
Okay. So, OTFUCK, which stands for Official Transformers Collectors Con. Yes, it was a con, not convention.
And for those who don't know what that is, before FunPub took over and ran BotCon had gotten official, and then it became OTFUCK for a couple years, and then it became BotCon again. And so a couple of years of OTFUCK.
You've never heard it called
that. That shows how goddamn young you are.
Yes,
I know what
everyone was calling it.
Pronounced that way.
It's called OTFUCK.
Everybody was calling it that.
So anyway, that Optimus Prime with a Defensor head was intended to be an exclusive for that convention. Unfortunately, it never happened for various reasons. That can be a whole series of shows. Fortunately, it never happened. So that is the closest we ever got to having that figure. There are 2 samples in the wild out there. At least 2 samples that I know of. When I was working with FunPub, that was one of the figures we had looked at. Now, we wanted to stay away from concepts that OTFUCK had introduced but never executed on. But that was just one figure we knew everybody would want. When we went back to Takara to say we want this mold, unfortunately, that RID mold of Optimus Prime had run its course and it didn't exist anymore.
Now it does again.
And it does again. And I want everyone to know out there that is a brand new tool. It's not from the original mold. That's a brand new tool, that Encore Edition Optimus Prime. I'm not sure if the Ultra Magnus,
the one that's having all the issues.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Ultra Magnus is a new tool or not. I can't confirm that. But
Magnus is the one that's having the issues, so it's probably the old one.
I can confirm 100% that that's a brand new tool for Optimus Prime. Because the Optimus Prime no longer existed. The Car Robot Brothers didn't exist anymore. Just because you use those molds so many times over and over and over again. You have a tier A character like Optimus Prime, so you print thousands and thousands of copies of it, and then you go back and you do repaints of it. So I was actually given a list by Takara of all the toys that were still available. All the Armada Minicons were gone. A lot of the Car Robot stuff was gone, but oddly enough, most of the Beast Wars and Beast Machine stuff was still there. And for the very first BotCon that we did through FunPub, we wanted to do that. This is a side story. We wanted to do the Galvatron from Beast Wars 2 as Thunderwing, and we even had one done up by Rob Yee, who works at Art Asylum. He even did one up. And
instead, you did Desaurus.
Because that tooling was lost. that and Leo Convoy, it wasn't used up. They actually just lost it.
It's such a good mold too. I love that Galvatron mold.
But yeah, they actually lost it.
What the Galvatron?
The Galvatron and the Leo Convoy from Beast Wars 2.
Okay.
They actually lost the molds.
I love that Galvatron because he's basically a giant purple spinning dildo.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it too.
You mean it's kind of into you?
It's like hit that button.
He rolls his eyes back in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. We pushed the awkwardness
level. So speaking about the RID show, when I was at Hasbro, we were talking about Headmasters and Master Force and how tedious it is to go through those shows. Well, some people can say the same of RID. And I had worked on those releases on the Divid of those series, and I was trying to get RID out. Unfortunately, RID, that particular show is owned by Saban. And Saban is owned by Disney now. And Disney can't release it on their own, and Hasbro couldn't release it. Yeah, so Disney couldn't release it without Hasbro's permission, and Hasbro couldn't release it without Disney's permission because Disney owns the show, but Hasbro owns the characters. And I was told there honestly just aren't enough people asking for it. I'm like, but you don't know that unless it comes out. And I think the only way it ended up coming out was in Europe.
Where nobody gives a shit.
That was the only way it came out was in English. Was through the UK. And I don't know if it was the entire series or if it was just season 1.
It's the whole thing.
Okay. But it's region coded, so. But now we have this thing called YouTube and the internet, and we can get everything off of that. So. You don't need divots anymore.
Talking about the point in time that RID was, we just come off of Beast Machines. Hello. Earmuffs the entire time.
What's your favorite Transformer? Who's your favorite Transformer?
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Who's your favorite Decepticon?
Megatron.
She likes Bumblebee. I think you're gonna have to return her and get another one.
Yeah.
Well, she's young. That's who Bumblebee appeals to. Here's a Bumblebee. Go away.
But yeah, I would. Coming out of
Bumblebee tuna. Your spark is showing.
I like Beast Machines for the most part. There's one or two things I did not like about it. But I felt we came off of competent fiction and a very like they said kind of serious show, but with terrible toys. I mean, yeah, there might be some good ones here or there. In general, that toy line was bad. It wasn't show accurate, and the scale is. We joke about Transformer scale. Good Lord, was scale out of whack for that toy line. So, and I feel we went from that to RID, which to me had a forgettable show, but really solid toys for the most part. Again, I don't think anything's perfect, but it was kind of an interesting flip. And and I feel that the scale on the RID toy line is good. They fit together, they look together on the shelf. So it was just an interesting swap to me. But then again, I don't think anything has been has had as bad of a toy line as Beast Machines did.
I like that the Robots in Disguise toy line had incorporated molds from every other toy line prior to it, plus new ones.
Yeah. G1,
did it have Beast Wars repaints?
Yep.
It had Beast Wars repaints. Yeah, Gas Skunk,
Skybite.
I always forget that the Gas Skunk came out. Yeah.
G2 the Spy Changers.
G2 had the Spy Changers.
Yeah, Laser Prime.
Machine Wars had the Flip Changers. They came back.
Yeah.
Tow Line and Skids.
It was literally a revisit of every Transformers line.
Every single line. Yeah.
It was Kitchen Sink, the toy line.
And then later on, there
became
universe
toys that used RID molds.
Yeah. But you could tell, and that's what I was saying later. When those figures are repainted, they still feel separate. They still feel like they're a different universe, because when you look at your universe shelf, for those of you that have it, you can tell that your RID figures don't quite fit in with the other guys.
I mean, the thing is, I agree with what you're saying there, but I feel every toy line has that feel. Like Armada toys feel like Armada toys.
Yep.
Energon toys feel like Energon toys. And even Combiner Wars is very distinct. The original Classics line is very distinct, and to me, one of the high points in Transformers. Although I do think Titan's Return was kind of bringing it back. I really enjoyed Titan's Returns, but I felt that every line has been really distinctive. I mean, of course, animated, super distinctive.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of good that we didn't get animated in Universe. That Universe preceded animated, because that would have.
Wait a minute! Didn't we get Axer? From the
that's from the movie mold.
Original Universe line, Universe 1.0.
Oh, okay. I was starting to say it wasn't like Lockdown.
Not Generations. Yeah, not Generations. Universe 1.0.
But that Axer though wasn't an animated repaint, was it? Well, that was from the movie.
That was the movie Lockdown.
Movie mold.
Okay. Yeah,
that was the movie Lockdown. Yeah.
Right character, wrong mold. Okay.
Right. I'm really happy that RAD has been looked at enough that Takara decided to invest the money in that tool and to
it's kind of like Vindication.
I'm hoping
if it wasn't so damn expensive, I'd be all over it.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get that Defensor eventually. I think we should be hopeful.
Oh, I would like to. One note is just a big middle finger to Hasbro for reusing a damn line. And now when we talk about RID, we have to say which one we're talking about. That's really frustrating. And they're doing it again with War for Cybertron. Now we're going to have to do it again because we already had War for Cybertron.
I thought it was War on Cybertron was going to be this one.
Nope.
Oh, you know what? I thought you were talking about like the voice chip for some reason.
No. I'm just talking about the actual line.
No, the name of the thing.
Still said Maximize.
Yeah. No, that's just. Come on, guys. Come up with some new names. Don't do this to us. Like the poor wiki maintainers.
Rick, Carrie, viewing the episode says your little girl is adorable, so she wanted you to know that.
Yes, bids start at $5.
She likes Bumblebee, so watch out.
She's had a full education. Real Ghostbusters, He-Man, She-Ra, Super Friends, Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Ninja Turtles.
We did Vintage Turtles. Yeah, she does like the new Nickelodeon show, but we've only seen
the new one or the one that just ended.
The one that just ended, yeah.
Okay.
And then we did classic DuckTales, we did new DuckTales, we did Darkwing Duck. So
now that's stuck in my head.
I
did that already.
That children need to play in both aisles. I don't like it when girls just play in the pink aisle. I think we're creating
a
target
for the pink aisle.
So Rick, when you were a kid, did you get taken down the girls' aisle and buy some girl toys?
No, I'm an only child, and all my cousins were 12 years older than me, so I never. But one of my favorite memories about Casey is that they never made a Rapunzel's tower, so she would use a vintage Castle Grayskull as a tower, and she would have Rapunzel's hair fall down over the tower. And Flynn Rider would drive up in his beat-up Thunder Tank to rescue Rapunzel.
All right, that makes up for Bumblebee. How it happened in the
toys that made us.
That makes up for Bumblebee. She gets a pass.
And she loves Hulk and Thor, just like Daddy. Right?
But she needs to use an 80s Jack Specific Hulk Hogan toy as Hulk and Thor.
Where did I get all these Transformers? That's a long story involving murder and betrayal and some words I can't use in front of you. Not till you're 8.
But also fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Frustrating.
I have fun when I murder people.
Speaking about frustrating, though, one of the things about RID that is really frustrating, and some G1s actually befall this thing, is the dry rotting tires on the toys. That was one of the things that whenever I went back and I picked up some of the Car Brothers, I had the clear ones, which Sideburn actually bought those off of me, Michael Swift. I had the clear Japanese BotCon clear ones. They had no issues. I mean, there was some slight yellowing on the clear plastic, but that's what happens. But you can't really prevent that.
It's funny. I've never had any dry rot on mine. I just took mine out to photograph them, and I haven't had any.
It doesn't happen on all of them, but some of them do. And
on the American or Japanese?
On the American ones. Now the Prime and Magnus are notorious for having split tires, but the Car Brothers, it's hit or miss with those.
I have every version of each of those molds, and luckily none of mine is split so far.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I think you're just rough with your toys.
I don't really think that's a problem to get worked up about. I'm going to take an unpopular opinion here. I mean, these are children's playthings. Nothing lasts forever. I mean, if I have the vintage and the tire is split, or if it hasn't split, and honestly, I don't know. I'd have to go look, and it's like over there. Over there. I mean, I'm not like, yay, the tire split, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's rubber. It's going to break down over time. I think that's okay. Again, it's not ideal, but
there is a fix. I mean, a lot of people just glue it back together or something, but
or just accept that plastic breaks down over time.
It's like O-ring figures, old Mego figures that are still on the card. The rubber band breaks. Old He-Man figures, the rubber band breaks. It's still carded, but the rubber band is broken inside of it. Unfortunately, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
You can throw your toy in a damn closet, open it 10 years later, and it will still have yellowed sometimes.
So a couple years ago, like was it early 2001, 2002? A lot of the lunchtime specials started showing up. A lot of the clear G1 Optimus Primes and Soundwaves and Starscreams, and I spent a lot of money and I got several of those, and I paid I think I paid $2,500 for my G1 Optimus Prime in all clear. It was the Takara book version one that had the axe and the Matrix, and I kept it completely hidden in the dark. And here I am, and it's completely yellowed out. The cab, not the trailer. The cab looks like dried Vaseline, completely yellowed out. It's gonna happen.
It sucks, but
you can't prevent it, no matter what you do to try.
But then Tony Prado, he's got one, and his is like super clear still.
Just different batch that day. Something minorly different, and it'll behave differently.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up on this discussion, and I'm really happy that the broadcast has not dropped at all. So if you guys are enjoying this broadcast and it's been good, I'm hoping that the mixer next week will fix the audio issues
and make us a cake.
And the cake is a lie.
Spoilers.
Yes. I think it's cool being live. I actually went to the YouTube page just long enough to pop out the chat, so that way I could have chat up, while we're talking and stuff. So that's fun.
It's really awesome to see people interacting, and I thank everybody for your comments on here. Some really good stuff that's been mentioned today. But before, and I'm going to throw this out there for all the listeners too, as you're watching. If you're watching live, you can comment on there. We may mention it here on air. But let's talk about the highlight of the series for us, as far as toy goes. I don't remember a whole lot of the cartoon because it's not readily available for me. I don't particularly want to go to YouTube and look it up and watch the entire series on there. But
my DVDs.
That'd be great. Appreciate that. Because what I do is I would rip them and put them on my cloud here.
Let me get them first, and I'll send them to you.
But from a toy perspective, I'm going to go around the horn here and see what is our highlights of the line as far as the toys you cannot live without from RID.
Since I am the handsomest, may I start?
All right, we'll go with the ugliest first.
Okay, so I just, there's something very important that we need to mention about RID, and that is Brave Maximus. And let us not forget that RID brought us a whole new Fortress Maximus repaint in the form of Brave Maximus. So I'm grateful to RID for that alone.
That was the first time I had ever gotten a hold of the Fort Max mold and got to play with it.
Same here.
And as a special treat, I think in a future episode of TFYLP, I just got a second Brave Maximus. I've never opened one of my own, So we're gonna do an unboxing. What do you think? Should we do an unboxing? Live on
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Rob, what's your highlight of RID that you just can't live without?
You know, I can't name
even today.
I mean, okay, to be honest, you know, if I'm stranded on an island, you're like, you know, list your top X toys. It's going to be a little while before I hit RID toys, even though there's a lot of them I really like. But, you know, some of my highlights I've already mentioned, like the Megatron mold. Although my favorite version of that is the BotCon 2016 Beast Wars Megatron. You know, and again, I really like Scourge. The train combiner, you know, it's all stuff we've mentioned today already. The train combiner, I think, is awesome just because they're trains and they combine. I know that, again, the stereotype is, oh, over in Japan, you know, trains are very popular, but everybody else hates them. I don't know. I think train toys are very cool, and I wish we got more of them. But, you know, like those are probably the ones that stick out the most to me. You know, the Devastator, again, I can't remember what his official name is.
Landfill. Yeah.
You know, that's a cool toy and it's a neat toy, but it's not the best combiner. It's like little spindly arms or something, you know. But I'm glad it exists.
Bots.
That's what I'm saying. It's cool. It has neat stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I think you can configure it so many different ways too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's neat, but it's still not like, I don't think it's groundbreaking either. At the same time,
well,
I think it's good. I think it's solidly
I would say
good.
It's there was never really a transformer like that, and there really has never been a combiner like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's I would say, like the Train Blast, it is unique.
Like, I'd probably say for me, the single most kind of favorite thing I got out of RD, honestly, is probably Skybite. Not necessarily his toys. I just, again, while an entire show that goofy doesn't really interest me, having one character that's goofy like that and that, you know, spouts haikus, I think that's just dorky and stupid and really fun, and I enjoy it and I like it. Like the very little that we see him show up in other stuff, I always enjoy that. So that's probably, to me, is like the longest lasting bit of thing that they have added to the mythos that I've appreciated.
I mean, that is some unique characterization, and I like that. Skybite is unique. Everybody can appreciate and love Skybite.
Absolutely. And incidentally, if you want to look up, I'm trying to find.
I'm disappointed none of you other fuckers wrote a haiku.
I did. Well, I'm going to end on it. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'll quickly read a haiku that I found online. Let me see if I can find the author of this. I don't want to take credit for it.
Incidentally, I thought you were still looking it up.
Solar wind beckons, scattering dust in the lane. My sword never rusts. That's a drift haiku.
Interesting.
I can dig it.
I can dig that.
Sucker!
But incidentally, if we were talking about Skybite there, and it took me a second to pull it up, but if you're a fan of Skybite, our own Jim Black, he actually was able to interview Peter Spellos, the voice actor for Skybite, back on TFYLP episode number 248. It'll be right here on our YouTube channel. So after this episode, if you want to pull that one up and watch that, we had an interview with Peter Spellos, great little interview. And also, if you want to hear more on RID and hear some of the other castmates that are on this show and have been on this show, if you want to hear their opinions on it. And I know Headmaster Don, this is like his favorite topic, and he really lamented not being on this episode today, but he's currently at work.
Apparently didn't care enough.
No, he's got to earn a paycheck. He's got to earn a paycheck.
Who chooses work over TFYLP?
But if you want to hear their input, episode 149 of TFYLP was one of the first times that we covered RID as a topic. So you can check that episode out as well. So lots of good things on there, and I think that episode was actually hosted by Tobias, our Swedish
Tobias Boone.
Yes.
Okay.
our Swedish contingent, which he's had some time away, and I'm hoping someday he gets to come back. But yeah, that particular episode, I believe, was hosted by him. So check that out. TFYLP episode 149 and episode 248, I believe, was for Peter Spellos. Yeah.
Does Tobias Boone and Noob Saibot still show up in Mortal Kombat?
I don't know.
Whoopsie.
I don't know. So Christian, your favorite RID toys that if you were picking just one or two that you could only have in your collection, and that would be it for RID, what would they be?
The Spy Changers. It's a weird choice, but it's made a smaller collection with a larger.
Lucas Bockelman agrees with you. He says he loves all the little Spy
Good.
Changers.
Yeah, I like collecting all the little variants of them. So I've got the American ones. I've got the supercharged ones. I've got the clear supercharged ones. I'm even starting to the G2 GoBots now. I don't have the American clear ones. Oh yeah, I do. So I have the American supercharged ones, not the American just clear ones. I've got the G1 kind of ones. I love them. It's so many different ones that I can collect, and it's not easy to do, so it keeps me occupied.
You got all the tiny tins?
No, I don't have tiny tins.
Well, those weren't repaints, but those were just carded.
That's why I haven't gone
packaging
for them yet.
Yeah.
Those will be the last ones I get, I think.
And
they're
they
fun.
work
I
great
like them.
with Great Maximus.
They do, and I have mine. Well, when I'm not moving, they're displayed with my Brave Max.
So if I had to go back, and I think I would probably gave this away earlier, but I think my number one would be Rail Racer. Trains is something you just don't see a whole lot of in Transformers, especially here in the United States. We had Astro Train back in G1, and then the Astro Train and Returns. I can't really name any other trains besides the rail. Well, then you had Rated.
And the Universe Rail Racer, the Micromaster one.
If you let somebody messing with their mic, and it's really distracting.
Yes, somebody has a lot of static.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I'm muting myself. I know it's not me.
Yeah.
Does somebody not hear static? Because it's you.
Yeah. There he goes. It was on Rick's end. I think it would have to be Rail Racer because he's just so unique, and he looks so darn impressive in the combined mode. I know in individual robot modes they're a little bit wonky with like really long spindly legs and everything, but that combined mode just amazing. I wanted the Japanese JRX version of it, but I hear
one
that
I have.
Well, maybe you can confirm. Is the clear windows pose an issue?
I've had mine for 12 years.
What should it look like? I can go look real quick.
I hear that they become very brittle and either break out, and I just heard some bad things about it.
Nothing's happened with mine like that yet, and I'm not going to go touch it and try to see if I can break it.
Yeah,
mine's packed away, but nothing major here.
Yeah, there's all sorts of variants on the trains, but yeah, I've never actually heard that one before.
Yeah. But I have to say there are the Team Bullet train, and then if I had to pick a second, it would be the Carr Brothers, Sideburn and Prowl and X-Brawn, or Speedbreaker, Mock Alert, and Wild Ride, depending on where you're from. But I really love those guys. The powered up versions look really cool. Like the all the gold chrome on like Mock Alert, just that striking blue, the metal flake in it too. It's just really pretty.
Oh yeah.
And they all. I think Sideburn was probably the first. The very first exposure I ever had to RID, I had actually imported Super Mock Alert. I'm sorry, not Super Mock Alert, but Super Speed
Breaker.
I'd actually imported one from Car Robots, and I was actually quite disappointed with how fiddly that damn thing was. But once you get him into both modes, he looks great. He looks really great. Incidentally, wasn't there a snafu with Hasbro and the car manufacturers like Dodge? Didn't they have an issue with them releasing?
They did, and as starting with the BotCon, Shadow Strike, and Roulette, they had to be licensed. So they were licensed for those two, and then they were licensed for Universe Sideburn. And then
I noticed that there's the actual Dodge Viper logo on one, and then the Mercedes logo on X-Brawn, and then the Lamborghini on Prowl. But I don't recall. Was there like a version of the package that did not have those logos? That they
prior to the BotCon, they didn't have it.
Rick, do you have any info on that?
I'm trying to think. I'm Mr. Variant Collector, and I cannot for the life of
It just seems like I remember.
So here's what I remember. The first version in the regular colors did not have it. But then the super powered version did have the Dodge Viper logo on it.
Okay. And that was because I think it was Dodge that actually raised the stink about it, wasn't it? That they was using the likeness of the Viper.
Yeah, and there was a problem with Chrysler as well because of the headlights of X-Brawn. They said the front end of X-Brawn was also theirs, so there was an issue with that. But that's all hearsay. I wasn't at Hasbro at that time. The only thing that I know, the only time I ever came across that situation was what was the double-bladed helicopter plane thing from the movie? What's his name?
Incinerator.
Incinerator. Yeah.
The Osprey.
Yeah, the Osprey. Thank you. Yeah. We got snagged for that one, and we had to retroactively pay royalties on that. Even though they felt they made it different enough, the two propellers on the plane, on the wings, they said, that it was too close. And then oddly enough, with Animated, with the blackout from Animated, that's the reason it didn't come out over here, was because Paramount said that's too close to us and you have to pay us royalties.
But it fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's an average character, but Paramount said no. We designed that. That's too close to us. You have to pay us royalties.
Wow.
That's the reason it never came out over here. And then we were gonna put it out with season 3. We were gonna take the Optimus, the Bumblebee, and the Blackout and put it out, and we just said, "F it, we're just gonna put it out," and then it never happened.
That is very interesting. Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts on the subject of RID?
Give me a high five. I probably transformed it wrong. I don't remember how to transform this shit at all, but it's close enough.
Yeah. It does look close. Can you have him flipping you off? Dude, there's a child on the screen.
I didn't bring her to this. I would know better.
No, she doesn't have headphones, so she can't hear you.
My haiku is a good leaving point for us if you want me to go ahead and do it.
Sure.
Yes. I
close with a haiku. And before you read it,
Before
you read it, I'll close out the show, and we'll have haiku as the ending of this episode. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week, and check out our sponsor, Capture Prey. Great toys, great prices, great service. CapturePrey.com, as well as the Ripped Apparel. If you go to Ripped Apparel and enter the promo code TFYLP Pod, as long as there's not a promotion going on, you will save 10% on your order at Ripped Apparel. And as always, check us out on Twitter at TFYLP. You can always contact us on there via Twitter. It's always the quickest way. Yeah. Rob's holding up the rock on. Check us out on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TFYLP. And with that,
Patreon.
Oh yes, and Patreon.
And then if you do the thing with the Patreon, I'll send you any book of mine that you want. I have a Beast Wars book. I have a Japanese book. I have a new G1 book. I've got a book on Dracula. I've got some comic books here. I got some Buck Rogers. Whatever book, I'll send you whatever book you want, man. I don't care.
And he'll autograph it too.
Yeah, even if I'm not the author, whatever.
But yes, if you love what we do here at TFYLP, check us out on a Patreon at patreon.com/TFYLP. There's different tiers there where you can do as little as $1 a month, or you can do up to $100 a month. Help us to continue to upgrade and make this show better. Ultimately, I want this show to be the best video Transformers podcast out there, and I don't think we're always the best, but we try to be. And I just can't overstate how much we appreciate all the people that continues to support us each and every month. You are our bread and butter. You're what keeps us going, and we appreciate you. And with that, let's end this episode on a haiku.
Robots in disguise, gone like a fleeting moment, always in our hearts.